Welcome to RotoGrinders Today. I'm Jordan Cooper, a.k.a. BlenderHD. BlenderHD. You're going to follow me on Twitter. And it's Tuesday, August 20th, and we'll be taking a look at tonight's 13-game DFS slate for MLB. And we don't have that much. I don't think we have any weather issues for 13 games. No weather issues, I don't believe. And we don't even have a team with an implied total over 5. So this is going to be fun. Okay, so hit the thumbs up button on your way in the door. Give me those thumbs. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell to know when we go live. Dean and the guys will be on at 5 o'clock Eastern for Grinders Live, followed by Crunch Time. We don't need any weather updates today. I do not think so. Don't worry about it, but they'll lead you up until lock. Join with me, the best DFS player in all of Saskatchewan, Canada. It's TJ Zwarych. And let me ask you, it's a 13-game slate, so we have time for the niceties. Are we going back to the well with $8,600 Robbie Ray today?
Yeah, I think we almost kind of have to, right? Like, it seems as though Robbie Ray and Blake Snell are two guys who have just been not in our lives all season long. And then they came back and have just kind of been taking DFS by storm, just absolutely lighting it up with the strikeouts. 8,600 feels way too cheap for him. I mean, obviously Ray sucked last game, but he had been lighting it up. But lots of strikeouts there, and he gets a really good matchup. Chicago has kind of been spoiling a lot of these good pitcher matchups lately, but I still think he's the top guy on the board. And unless he starts changing to, 40% ownership as opposed to 29, low 30s, then I'm still going to be going there.
Well, Dave Potts Cheese is good, who is a two-time Millie winner, as well as a Fantasy Baseball Hall of Famer, who writes our $1 Million Musings. If you're a RotoGrinders premium member, you could become one by clicking on that link in the description. We're running a special, $40 off your first month. So go check it out. He writes like 10,000 words a day on the MLB slate. But Cheese has that famous Robbie Ray rule that you don't play Robbie Ray when he's chalk. You play Robbie Ray when he's going to be contrarian. It's been a rule. The Robbie Ray rule goes back like 10 years. We have a bunch of other pitchers on the slate that are absolutely playable. We look at the bat projections. Yeah, Robbie Ray does project for the highest in raw points as a median at a 98 pitch count. The best point per dollar value on the slate, but we got Cole Reagans at 9,500 against the Angels. Zach Wheeler, 9,300 against Atlanta. Although that's not the easiest of matchups, but still, Zach Wheeler has the highest strikeout prop on the slate. And then we still have guys that, if you don't have to spend all the way up, you can play Ronald Blanco at 8,800, Luis Gil at 9,000, Blanco against Boston, Gil against Cleveland, not the greatest of matchups, but still, they're fine pitchers. And then we still have guys like Berrios against Cincinnati at 8,000, Jose Quintana, Frankie Montas, Eric Fetty, 7,900 against Milwaukee. And then we'll get in some cheaper pitchers from there. But we're not like void of pitching. Pavetta is 7,800. We got Bailey Ober at 8,400. I'm not sure if I'm going to these guys. I think they may be slightly overpriced. So if one were not to play Robbie Ray, I like putting my pitchers in buckets, if you know this show. The A bucket, the B bucket, the C bucket when it comes to pitchers. We have 26 on the slate. So, these buckets, you don't have to be that selective. But I think Robbie Ray clearly goes in the A bucket. And I think Cole Reagans also goes in the A bucket. Wheeler is close, but what other pitchers are you looking at that, from either projection or ownership standpoint, that would make the A bucket or at least the B bucket? Because I think I mentioned all like guys that I would at least consider for the B bucket.
So the biggest, I think, stand I will take is, personally, if I'm fading one of the chalky pitchers between Reagans, Ray, and Wheeler, I would actually rather fade Wheeler as opposed to Robbie Ray today. And so he's probably going to be the guy that I'm most underweight on today. Yes, the strikeout prop is there, but it's still Atlanta. And if he's going to be chalky, I don't mind betting on Atlanta to get to him as opposed to him getting to Atlanta. I'm not committing right now already to having him out of the pool. I don't necessarily know that I'll do that, but of the three, he is my least favorite. He'd be the one that I'd definitely drop from A to B or just keep in B. Like you said, I think he's just not quite on the Reagans and Ray tier for me personally today. I don't think it's crazy to take shots on Luis Heel or even Bailey Ober. Cody Bradford projects really well in the bat today. Eric Fetty projects really well in the bat today. If you want to get cheap, there's Javi Assad and Joey Estes that maybe you can take some shots on. These Oakland pitchers have been weirdly pitching a lot better recently. But for the most part, I think I want to stay with the expensive tier. The guy that interests me the most is Nick Pivetta because at 7,800, Houston's dealing with some injuries. We'll see if they get their full lineup back today or not. But Pavetta's a guy that it almost doesn't really matter who he's facing sometimes. If he's on his game, if he's lights out, he should be 9.5K. If he's not on his game, he should be a 6K pitcher. So he's interesting, very interesting to me because at $7,800, he's probably getting at least 5 or 6 strikeouts. It just depends on whether or not he can limit the damage on the scoreboard or not. So Pivetta at 7,800, I think, is very interesting. When did Walker Buehler get back in our lives? 7,500 Walker Buehler. I saw that name today and I was like, what is going on? I didn't realize that he had already started one small game with the 3 innings pitched, and he was already back in business now. Another one that I think would be super interesting would be Mitch Keller at that price tag, but his velocity has just dropped right down and he has been absolutely terrible lately. And so I think I need to wait to see Mitch Keller look a little bit more like himself before I take any shots there. And so of the mid-range crew, I think my favorite would be Pivetta followed by Fetty, but like it's not even just like it's only good up top. Like the 7 to 8K of Berrios, Fetty, Pivetta. Maybe you want to play Walker Buehler against Seattle if you think he's going to get over 80 pitches. But like it's good top to bottom today.
I hope people play Walker Buehler today. I hope they're not, but I mean, I hope. Walker Buehler is not the same Walker Buehler. Walker Buehler is hashtag not good anymore. Not he's giving up 1-2 home runs a game. I mean, he did before he was injured and came back. So yeah, good luck. You feel free to play Walker. Wait till we get the stats, and you'll see the stacks that I like the most on this slate. But you mentioned Javier Assad. Typically, I'm not an Assad person. Typically, the bat it doesn't like Javier Assad. But I think that was more when his pitch count was more like he was pitching 75, 80 pitches and stuff. 6,900 against the Tigers sounds appealing to me. And if you look at the weather update today, the winds are in from left center at 10 miles an hour on a coolish, and it's not like it's not like cold, but
how
it's
wild
not
is it that 13 games and the only thing on there is a green?
Right.
That's
There's
wild.
not much going on. But the thing is that the wind in Wrigley matters more than any other stadium. So when the wind is blowing out, it means a lot. But also when the wind is blowing in, it means a lot as well. So Assad is not really that much of a fly ball pitcher, but at 6,900 against the Tigers, I mean, he could rack up 5 strikeouts and give up no runs in 6 innings, and at 6,900, get the win and get 18 to 20 points. I don't mind taking a shot on him, and I don't think he's going to be all that owned. And, Joey Estes against Tampa Bay is maybe in a similar spot, although, his pitch count, he's probably not going to pitch more than 90 pitches. So I think his ceiling is kind of a little bit limited there. And especially on a 13-game slate with all these pitchers, I'm always wary about playing, guys, no matter even if they're 6,300, that, if they get 12 points, it's just not going to be enough. Like I'm looking to aim for 40 plus points total at pitcher. So like if they can't really reasonably get to 20 in a lot of outcomes, I'm probably going to pass on them. But I'm kind of with you when it comes to Wheeler, the Wheeler situation. If I had to choose, Ray and Reagan's would be the top two, but of course that's going to be like kind of the chalky pitcher combination. But I think there are enough pitchers on the slate that are appealing enough that the ownership is not going to get out of hand. I think Robbie Ray's ownership is not going to be as high. If Robbie Ray got 11 strikeouts last start and not like pitched for an inning and burned everyone at high ownership, I think Robbie Ray would end up being 50% owned on this slate, even on the 13 gamer. So I think the ownership is going to be kind of curtailed there. So it may not, maybe no pitchers over 30% owned or no over 35% owned. So when that's the case, like it's less and less beneficial to like get the leverage at pitcher, right? So like if I told you Robbie Ray and Cole Reagans are both going to be 30% owned, like are you playing a Ronel Blanco Jose Quintana lineup for 6 points lower projection? Yeah. I mean they're going to be low. I mean you're going to get Quintana at 5% and Blanco at 10%, but I think there's going to be a lot of combinations of pitcher that get you 40 points today. The totals are not that high. For a 13 gamer to have no team with a higher than a 5 total means that maybe you don't need, maybe as long as you find 40 points a pitcher, you're good and you get the stack right and you're there. And I'm with you on all the pitchers that you mentioned. I think Pivetta, we'll talk about that, and when it comes to stacks, that's a good high variance situation. Like you mentioned, if Pivetta's on, he could be great. Pivetta's off, you want to stack against him. So I think maybe we'll talk a little bit about the Astros stack. Is there anyone else that you would consider like a large field flyer, C tier? I mean, some of the pitchers we already mentioned are kind of, Joey Estes, I would put in the C bucket, right? Assad, I would put in the B bucket.
Yeah, me
like
too.
Corey Bradford, I put in the C. To me, there's a lot of C's. There's a lot of, if you're playing large field tournaments and you want to play Shane Baz today against Oakland, I don't think you're crazy. Like, I'm not going that far down, but you could make a case for in large field tournaments playing probably 2/3 of the pitchers on this slate. As okay, I'm going to plug this guy. I'm going to play Cole Reagans plus Matthew, but maybe not Matt. Well, I mean, he projects decently against the Yankees, although I'm not a big fan of playing pitchers at Yankee Stadium against the Yankees. But if you did that, I still don't think you're I don't think you're insane for doing so. I don't think it's necessary, right? If you wanted to play Luis Gil and Jose Berrios as your pair, or Frankie Montas and Javier Assad as your pair, or Robbie Ray plus Eric Fetty. Like none of these sound like wow, you're crazy. You're crazy for doing it. So is there anyone else that you'd consider taking flyers on in large field?
So early in the day for like an ABC tier, I basically have narrowed it down to 13 players. I've cut the slate in half, which for my player pool.
That's still TJ for a slate to have like, oh, there's 13 pitchers in my player pool. That's a lot.
I know, that's why I'm still gonna try and cut it down, like for my actual player pool for tournaments later today. But in terms of ones I would potentially consider, I do have it at 13, and so the guys up top.
So if we go down this, go yay or nay. Maybe this will make it easier. You're 13. Robbie Ray,
Yeah,
is in there. Javier,
and I'll say specifically the tier. So he is a.
Well, we don't care about the tier. We're looking for the 13 pitchers that. Yeah, you're not crazy. You're in your pool as of now. So Robbie Ray 1.
Yeah.
Javier Assad 2.
Yeah.
Joey Estes 3.
Yeah.
Cole Reagans 4.
Yeah.
Cody Bradford.
Yay.
5. Zach Wheeler.
Yay.
6. Jose Berrios.
Yay.
7. Montes.
Nay.
Okay. Jose Quintana.
Nay.
Eric Fetty.
Yay.
8. Matthew Boyd, no.
No.
Shane Baz, no.
Yes.
Yes, okay, so we're at 9. Ronel Blanco, no.
No.
Okay. Luis Gil, yay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 10. And I'm assuming Pavetta is 11. Ober is 12.
Yeah. Only
Then who
other
else?
guy left, Davis Martin is the last one I'd consider. At San Francisco, really good pitcher's park. He's looked pretty good in his last 2 starts. A young guy with a pedigree. Davis Martin is the only other guy I would consider.
Okay. I don't think you're crazy. I'm not doing that, but there are a lot of pitchers. There's going to be also a lot of stacks on this slate where they're going to be in my like D tier of like, you're not crazy for playing them, but I'm not. Because obviously, the top end of pitching is not all that great. There's a lot of just middling stuff. So let's get the tiers. For the stacks, remember, these are 5-man stacks on DraftKings. And this is ownership adjusted. And I'm not even sure ownership even matters that much. I think it's going to be a lot of spread out stuff. Like, pitchers are going to be a little condensed because you're going to get Reagans, Wheeler, and Ray. But I don't think any of them are going to get to 50% owned. So that's going to be kind of spread out. And then at stacks, like, I'm not sure if any stack on this slate is more than 7% owned. Like, as a stack. And we may have some double-digit owned, the batters, individual batters. But I'm not necessarily sure that there'll be a stack where you play a 5-man, and all 5 of those batters are over 7% owned. Right? You may have a 3%, 8%, 6%, like the combinations. So I don't think anything stands out all that much. And a lot of the standout spots, you also take a look at the pitching matchup, and it's like it's a good team against not a horrible pitcher, right? I'm not saying the good pitcher,
because there's good pitchers, and or at least like not good DFS pitchers, but good
real
life pitchers facing a lot of these offenses that we X'd out, but still they're in good spots, and I don't really want to target them.
Right. So in the bat, I'm looking at the Bat X Stacks page, which you get as an add-on here at RotoGrinders. The top projected team in raw points on the slate, the top 2. There's going to be this middle level. I mean, like the difference, to put things into perspective, there are 26 teams on the slate. And the difference between the 5th team in raw projection and the 26th team is 6 points. Okay? To put things into perspective, right? So when we get at the like, oh, here's the top, here's like the second tier. It's like the difference between the second tier and the bottom tier is like what? A double in points. Or like, like that's the difference. But the top 2 teams on the slate are probably the top 2 hitting teams in baseball. I mean, it makes sense. The Dodgers against Bryce Miller and the Phillies against Ronaldo Lopez. I mean, I like the teams. I mean, these are fairly expensive stacks. I don't think it's going to be salary is going to be that much of an issue on this slate. Maybe a couple of stacks, maybe a little overpriced. But no one has these are. It's not the Dodgers or Phillies with 5+ totals. They've 4 low 4 totals. Bryce Miller is a good pitcher. I mean, not a great pitcher. Ronaldo Lopez is a good pitcher. I mean, sure, these teams do have the upside to score a lot of runs just because they're good teams. But I'm not going out of my way to play the Dodgers and Phillies today. But I'm not sure if anyone else is either. I mean, I'm not even sure. I mean, I might as well not even look at ownership on this slate because I just don't. I look at this and I'm not even sure who's going to be chalky.
It's going to be totally irrelevant because even if you play the highest owned stack on the slate, you're still not going to be running into a lot of issues with dupes and things like that because of all the different pitchers on this slate. Right. So, like, I honestly think maybe if you're playing, Reagans with Wheeler at Ray, like 2 of those 3, and 1 stack comes out close to 10% owned today. Maybe you don't want to do those 3 pairings together.
But
even still, it's probably fine. You pick
fine.
one different guy in a stack. You don't pick the 5 chalkiest players. Right. Like I really don't think we're gonna have to worry about ownership at all today. I'm with you.
Right, because it's not condensed enough. It's not like we have a Coors game where one team's going to be 18% owned, and then we have 50% owned pitchers. It's not that type of slate. So I'm putting in Bat We Trust. If I use Javier Assad and Robbie Ray, I could pay for them. I think people will look at Bryce Miller and go, I don't want to attack him. And I mean, I think you're rightfully so. It's quite possible that if a team that puts up 7 or 8 runs is the highest scoring stack, I could always see the Dodgers getting there. I still think that, I mean, I would kind of say the same thing with the Phillies. I think just based on just raw points, you could play both of them. I mean, can you make the case that, I mean, I'm not sure what an A-tier team is today. I almost feel like there's a ton of B's, C's, and D's, but it's a cop-out to just throw everyone in the middle. So we got to put some teams up top. I mean, can you make a case against the Dodgers and the Phillies like where you would think they should be in the C tier or something?
No, I don't think so. Maybe I would go Phillies B, but still no. Like that's the thing. It's like I'm with you. I don't think there is an A tier team today, but we kind of have to put a team in the A tier. That's why it's tough. The Dodgers would be my favorite. Now they are tough to get to. That's why I think the guys like Assad and the Estises, things like that, are in play, especially if you're pairing them with Ray, then you can get there. And so because of that, I think they stay in A, because I think they're kind of an A in a vacuum, an A tier raw points team, and then a B tier point per dollar team because they're so expensive. But we can get there on this slate. Miguel Rojas is literally the only player in that projected lineup that I don't want to play. Everybody else, I'm fully willing to stack top to bottom. Tommy Edman in there gives you a cheap second baseman, even cheaper than Gavin Lux. Muncy's back in the lineup, already hit a home run in his first game back. Betts is back. Freeman didn't miss any time. So like this team is the Dodgers that we've kind of been waiting for them to be. It's not this makeshift lineup that they've been putting together for the last couple months. And so I agree. A tier probably for the Dodgers, B tier probably for the Phillies. We got a question in chat. Are you ranking based off statistics, the ERA, the totals, or off opinions, or both? It's both. Basically where we think they will do and how the statistics think they're due. If we agree or disagree, we'll let you know.
We don't base it. Hold on.
This is your show. I should let you describe it. You'll describe it better.
We're ranking here at RotoGrinders. We have a data science team that over the course of 10 plus years have perfected actual statistical models, right? So we're not talking about ERA or totals. We're talking about 200 plus variables. The Bat X by Derek Carty, he's been doing this for years. It's not like, oh, this team has a 4.2 total, so play him. The total matters, but so does every data point in the long term of all the play. It's mad. If you go to school and you get a master's degree in applied mathematics, you could build all this out. We could show you all the formulas, and then you could code it in a lot of computer programming languages. That's what we offer your RotoGrinders. So when I say that the Bat X stacks projection page shows the Dodgers as the highest projected stack, that's based on all of those methods. And the reason why you have to have computer programming is because it's so advanced that your brain can't actually process it. So the reason is that you don't, I literally look at no stats for any of my DFS play. Okay. So I just want to highlight this. I look at no stats. You know why? Because if anything that's worth predictive power is already in the model. So the weather, for instance, I never, other than postponements, there's no reason to look at the weather. Why? You know why Javier Assad projects well? Because the wind is blowing in. That's already in the model. So if I say, oh, Javier Assad projects well and the wind is blowing, that means I'm just double counting. Okay, so understand we're ranking this based on all of those factors. And the only opinion that I ever have is whether or not other human beings in my DFS contest will play them more or less than they should based on those statistical models. So
yeah, I'll throw a little bit more opinion based stuff in there than Blender, but mostly all of those things, and like you said, the wind, the totals of the game, all these things are just one of the multiple thousand factors within the projection system.
Right. Okay. I have 2 A-tier teams. I'm putting them in A-tier. I don't care what you say, TJ, because I don't think people are playing these teams, and I think these pitchers have name value but are not good. Are just short. This is the type of thing, short-term regression as far as like these. If you look back 2 years, you wouldn't stack against these two. But now I don't think they're gas cans, but I think the Seattle Mariners against Walker Buehler and the Texas Rangers against Mitch Keller on a slate where if people are most of the stacks are going to be similarly owned, I think people are just going to play like the Royals or the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Phillies or stuff like that. Seattle strikes out a bunch. Texas, I mean, these are strikeout prone teams, but they're also power teams. I think Walker Buehler could give up 3 home runs in a game. I think Mitch Keller, his velocity is down. I mean, he could be completely gone, like completely. I mean, Mitch Keller could just be done. And I'd rather take advantage of that now before other people. But I mean, how 2 years ago we were still not playing teams against Patrick Corbin because Patrick Corbin used to be a good pitcher, right? We used to play teams. We can't play teams against Dallas Keuchel because he's a ground ball pitcher and he's not bad, right? Or Madison Bumgarner a couple of years ago. Oh, we can't play stacks. No, of course they turned into nothing, right? So I'm betting on nothing, and the projections kind of agree with me. So the Mariners and Rangers are the 3rd and 4th highest projected teams in the bat. But remember, like I said, the difference between like the top and the bottom is not that dramatic. So I think I don't think people are going to look to play the Mariners or the Rangers today as much. They're not going to be like nothing owned. So I'm putting them in the A tier. Are you going to argue with me that they should be there, or they shouldn't at least be in the B tier?
I mean, just the fact that we got a nice spelling lats there on the A tier now definitely makes me want to keep it there. But I would probably have Seattle in B personally. I would drop that just because I don't like them quite as much. I maybe don't think Buehler is quite as bad as you do. But Texas would be in there A for me today, simply for the purpose of the last 2 games. Mitch Keller's velocity hasn't just been a little bit down; it's been way down. Right. It's been a lot down, and he has been very, very bad. If something is broken there, and he's a couple starts from hitting the IL because they want to let him figure it out. I want to keep jumping on that right now. They may not project the best across the industry because Keller's usually good. It's a 13-game slate, so people may not really realize, hey, Keller's been really bad the last couple games. And there's a reason for it. It hasn't just been unlucky baseball variance. And so I really like Texas in tier 1. Seattle I'd have 2, but I'm not so firmly strong with that thought that I would argue with you if you want them in 1.
Right. If I put them at the top of B, like there's no team. The only reason we're playing A and putting A and Fs in is because I don't want to just shove everything in the middle. But like, I don't have like this, like, if I'm playing one lineup, it's just Mariners and no question about like it's not that. So like I don't mind. Like my opinions are not like strongly held. They should be towards the top. And whether or not you view A versus B, it's almost like we're putting B's and like B pluses, right? I don't think there's clearly A tier teams. But we got a couple more in this range. We got the Red Sox against Blanco, the Royals against Tyler Anderson, and the Yankees against Matthew Boyd. I'm not enthralled by either of these 3 teams, even though they can hit well. The Red Sox are very expensive to stack. So that like takes me kind of off of them. I don't think Blanco is great, but I don't think he's bad. I think Matthew Boyd gives up too many home runs when he's bad. I'm more likely to take a shot on the Yankees. But I don't know. I don't know where these are obviously not D tier teams, but the Red Sox, the Royals, and the Yankees, they're not my first choices on stacks for this slate.
Where I do find the Red Sox interesting is just that Blanco has been pretty bad against lefties. Like, he kind of comes in overall as an above average pitcher, but he's very good against righties and he's pretty darn bad against lefties. Lefties are hitting him almost 10% higher in hard hit rate this year. They're hitting him hard 43.8% of the time versus 34.5 for righties. And so it's not a stack that I'll just kind of think, throw everybody in there. I don't really want to play Wong or Rafaela. O'Neill you can always play. But Duran, Abreu, Cassis, Devers, Yoshida, even David Hamilton at the end, I do think they're pretty interesting. So I'd probably have them in C. Kansas City, I don't really like picking on Tyler Anderson, but this is Kansas City against a lefty at home, which is basically a best case scenario for them. He has been a little reverse splitsy throughout his career. And so that's not really ideal for this lineup, with Vinny P is probably the only left-handed bat we're going to get in there. But I would drop Kansas City to C, if I'm being honest. Like, I get that, there's all the rumors that they're stealing signs at home and they're cheating, and that's why they're always lighting it up at home. That's why Bobby Witt's so good. I don't know about any of that, but I just don't really like stacking up against Tyler Anderson. I think he's pretty good. And so I'm more likely to home run hunt here, I think, with, Witt or Sal Perez or Dayron Blanco's been hitting multiple home runs every game. Maybe more of a mini stack as opposed to the full stack. So I think the full stack, I'd have them in C. And then the Yankees, I do like them against the lefty more than I do against the righty. Matthew Boyd has been one of almost like a Robbie Ray-esque pitcher throughout his career, where he's been horrific at times, but he's also been really good at times. He was pretty good in his first start. We don't know what we're going to get from him here, but it's the Yankees, and so I think we play him. I don't really love most of the back end outside of maybe like an Oswaldo Pereira, Jose Trevino, if those guys are in the lineup today. I never really like playing DJ LeMahieu. I basically just always X him out of the pool. Verdugo, I don't really want to play him either. And so this is mostly, looking at it, I guess mostly a mini stack that I like better. I think I'd put the Yankees to C as a full stack too, just because I don't love the full stack. I'm much more likely to mini stack Torres, Judge, Soto, Stanton, pick 3 of them as opposed to a full stack.
Okay, then we get down to the. I mean, now we're getting very, like, when I say tiers, I'm just naming, because the difference between the next team and the last team is like 4.5 for the 5 points, which is like, it's not that big for the rest of the slate to be that compact like that is kind of ridiculous. But there's one team that's
whatever you want.
Well, it is that type of slate. So this next grouping, it's going to be the Astros against Pivetta, the Reds against Berrios, the Mets against Kramer, the Angels against Reagans, the Giants against Davis Martin. Just to start out, I would put, just because Cole Reagans is going to be owned, I would have originally slated the Angels for the D tier. I'm going to move them up to the C tier based on leverage, because I think the only leverage is with the White Sox and the Angels, right? And maybe the Braves, right? Like those, you get any type of leverage at pitcher. And then I said Pivetta and the Astros. Depending on the Astros lineup, I think the Astros are a B tier team today. But just understand the range of outcomes. Like, Pivetta could come out and strike out 9 or 10 guys, or Pivetta could come out and give up 9 or 10 hits and 4 walks and 3 home runs. I like having those wide range of outcomes, especially on a slate where, like, no one really has a high implied team total. So in order to win GPPs, Like, can I find the team that puts up 10 plus runs? Well, I see a scenario where the Astros put up 10 plus runs, but I also see a scenario where the Astros don't score any runs. So I'm willing to take that, to eat that variance, eat that range of outcomes at hitter. I think you're a little bit more on Pivetta than the Astros, and I'm a little bit more on the Astros than Pivetta.
I'll be on both. I 100% agree with the Astros in tier 2 because Pivetta is always a guy that I want to get both sides of. Angels, I'm definitely dropping down. I would actually drop them to F, not even D, because I don't think you need any type of leverage on this slate. I think it's too big of a slate where it's like going up against a 30% owned pitcher. I honestly think that's going to mean nothing for you today, unless they are the highest scoring team on the slate, which I genuinely don't think there's any chance in hell that the Angels are going to be. They're going to put out a probably full 9 righty lineup, and Ragans is much better to righties than he is lefties. Strikes out 31% of righties as opposed to 20.7% of lefties. And so that's going to bump up that strikeout rate. And I think a lot of these Angels stats are puffed up this year because of like the weird hot streak they went on against lefties earlier in the year. Kevin Pillar is not a 200 ISO batter. I don't care what his stats say this year. That was a hot streak in a limited sample size, and that have bumped up his stats. As a Jays fan my whole life, I know that Kevin Pillar is not this guy, especially not in his mid-30s. And so Ward, O'Hoppe, Neto, maybe Adele, I think are only the somewhat interesting bats on this slate. And even then, no. So I think the Angels are not in a great spot today. But the other teams I think I would be most likely to take a shot on would be even though the wind's blowing.
We got the Reds. So where would you put the Reds, the Mets, and the Giants? So the Giants, I know it's TJ, it's you. The Giants automatically the F tier. Never the Giants.
I played a little Giants yesterday, actually. I'd go D tier for the Giants today just because of that implied team total. But Cincinnati against Berrios, probably still D, or D. I'd be okay with C, though. I like playing them at home as opposed to on the road, but I'm a lot more willing to mini stack these guys as opposed to full stack. Berrios has been giving up some home runs this year. TJ Friedel is a one-off bat I really like. Dela Cruz, I think, is in play, but not probably going to be full stacking Cincinnati too often. Mets are a firm C, borderline B for me. I do really like a Met stack today. Kramer has struggled outside of his last game, but he's really put up some terrible performances this year. I like taking the Mets against lefties more than righties, but they're affordable. Lindor is the only guy higher than 5K on this team. And so I do like the Mets quite a bit. Who was the last team you told me to touch on? Was it Atlanta?
No, that was it. I got more teams for you. We still got plenty to it. We're running them down. Right? Because now we're towards the zone where the difference between the next team and the last team is 3 points. So like we're gonna just start rolling these out. So I'm gonna go one by one. Right, we're just trying to bang these off quickly because I don't think any of the teams that we're mentioning from this point forward, I don't even think make the B tier. So it just comes down to: are they C worthy? Are they D worthy? Are they? You're not playing F worthy, right? Okay, so the Padres against Ober, the expensive Padres stack against Bailey Ober. I'm gonna vote D. What do you say?
Yeah, D's right. I'd probably go F, but I think D's fine.
Okay. I don't think you're crazy. Like, D is always I don't think you're crazy for playing them, but I'm not. Like, F is kind of like on a 13-game slate and you're playing that team, you're crazy, right? Like that's what F tier is. Okay, how about the Cubs against Brian Salmons?
I think they're borderline C. I know that wind is blowing in, but I'm not worried about Salmons. And so I think they're a D, borderline C team.
Okay. I mean, I think you're not crazy, but I'm not doing it. Toronto Blue Jays against Carson Spires, and the Blue Jays stack I may have a little bit inflated ownership because of price. I'm gonna, I guess the C tier.
Yeah, I think so. C tier. They've been playing really good baseball lately. I like me some. Anytime they're not facing like I very rarely take the Blue Jays against lefties, but anytime they're facing a righty who doesn't strike out a lot of guys, that's the teams that I like the Blue Jays against the most. So I do think they're a C tier. Spires has put up some really good games, but he's put up some really crappy games too.
The Cardinals against Frankie Montas. I'm going for D.
I think C. I think Frankie Montas sucks, and I actually like the St. Louis Cardinals today. I think they are a very interesting, sneaky stack. They got a lot of powerful lefties, and Montas has been horrific against them. And so it's not going to be a day I'm playing much Arenado, Goldschmidt, or Wynn because Montas is incredibly splitsy. He's been very good against righties. He's been not so good against lefties. Gets a lot more ground balls to the righties, strikes them out a lot more. But lefties not so much. And so Burleson, Donovan, Nootbaar, Gorman, I think these guys are very interesting today.
Okay, how about the Twins against Martin Perez?
I never really like stacking against Perez, but I guess he is one of the weaker pitchers on this slate. And so I think Twins are a B tier team. Get you some Royce Lewis, get you some Santana, Jeffers, Castro. Probably no. I think Buxton's hurt right now, but this is a lineup I like taking against left-handed pitching. So I'm good with them in the C tier.
How about the Orioles against Jose Quintana?
C as well. Maybe B. Maybe B. I always like playing the Orioles, though. Orioles are one of my favorite teams to play in DFS this year. They always have good home run odds. I like betting on them. I'm not worried about Jose Quintana. I would rather them be facing a right-handed pitcher as opposed to a lefty, but it's not like Quintana has been any better against the lefties, so I think it leaves Gunnar still in play. Leaves Jackson Holliday still in play. I like Baltimore. I would have them borderline C.
How about the Milwaukee Brewers against Eric Fetty?
D or F? I'm not playing the Brewers.
The Braves against Zach Wheeler. With you get a little bit of leverage here if Wheeler's going to have some ownership.
D or B. Sorry, D or C. I'd probably go C for the Braves just because they're the Braves. They were getting healthier, and now they obviously got Riley hurt. So like this offense is just ridiculously struggling with injuries this year. But Wheeler hasn't been near as good against lefties, and we got Harris and Olsen and Kelenic, bunch of options in there. The fact that Laureano is going to be hitting near the top of the lineup, that makes them cheaper. Oh my gosh, but just that second half, like the Whit Merrifields and the Luke Williams look bad. I'm fine with D. I'd be fine with C or D.
The Tigers against Javier Assad. Are we just throwing them in the F tier? Why are you playing the Tigers?
Yeah, wind blowing in. Why are you playing the Tigers?
The Guardians against Luis Gil. I think anytime you play in Yankee Stadium, you can't be an F tier team. But I mean, I don't think you're crazy, but I'm not doing it. I put them in the D tier.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too. I'm not playing them.
Okay, Robbie Ray's going to be owned. Robbie Ray roll. Chicago White Sox, they're cheap. I mean, they're cheap. I don't know why you need that cheap of a stack, but the White Sox against Robbie Ray. I mean, are they automatically D-tier team? Just like does Robbie Ray gets hit again at 40% ownership? I mean, they can't really. It can't be. Yeah, I can't call you crazy for playing the White. I'm not doing it, but I don't think you're nuts.
I don't think it's nuts to very specifically play Zach Wheeler, Cole Reagans, and the White Sox. That would be literally the only way I'd do it.
Right. Okay, we got 3 more teams. Oakland A's against Shane Baz.
D. If this game was not in Oakland, I think I'd have a little bit more interest. But since it's in Oakland, one of the best pitchers parks in baseball, Baz has been fine. He's kind of been hit or miss. He has a lot of pedigree, and he had injury injury troubles, and so he was gone for a long time, but he's starting to pitch a little bit better. I don't really want to target the A's, but I think they kind of always have upside. They do have a lot of power there, but still probably a D tier for me.
How about the Rays against Joey Estes?
D as well. Like, it's Joey Estes isn't anything special, but I'm still probably going to be playing him. I think the Rays are viable if you see something that you really want to play with them, but I'm not going to do it.
Then the last team, the lowest projected team, which is not that much lower projected than the past teams that we just mentioned, the Pirates against Cody Bradford. I mean, I don't think the Pirates are an F tier team either. I think they're just, you're not crazy for playing them, but I'm not.
Yeah, that's basically exactly it. You're not crazy, but I'm not doing it.
Right. So we see, I mean,
that's maybe like a Joey Bart one-off,
Right. But we see on the tiers list, there's a lot of like, yeah, these are the pick of the litter kind of, and then you could mix some of these in, and then just a lot of like, yeah, probably not on this size slate. And that's why it's hard to really have A tier and F tier teams on this slate. But if I had to choose a lineup to play one, so let's go through this to close out the show. If you were just playing one lineup, right? Just one line, GPP line. I'd be more willing to play like a Texas Seattle lineup, or Texas Seattle. Maybe you use like an Ohtani one-off or something, like maybe a Dodger one-off, a Philly one-off, a Yankee one-off, an Astro one-off, a Met one-off. Like to me, like my stacks, I would like the Rangers and the Mariners. But it may not be like 5-3 or anything like that. It may just be like a 5-man Rangers and 3 one-offs, 5-man Mariners and 3 one-offs. And I think getting to the Aaron Judge, the Kyle Schwarbers, the Ohtanis, the Alvarezes, the Alonso Lindors, like that's how I would kind of like fill out my lineup. And I'm much more likely to fade Robbie Ray or Cole Reagans, just due to the fact that there's just so many pitchers on the slate that I think are viable enough that as long as Robbie Ray and Cole Reagans don't go out and put up 35 plus points by themselves, I don't think I'm dead. I don't like you'll need an outlier game from either of those two at their ownership to really kill you. So I'm not saying that I would play a contrarian pitching combination, but I would probably play one of Ray or Reagans and then pick one of the myriad of other pitchers that we've mentioned to fit in, whatever my Texas or Seattle stack is with these one-offs from the other teams. So how would you describe, like, if you had one lineup, you were playing, the 555, 7-7, say, whatever, single entry, high stakes, whatever. What would your lineup look like?
It would probably,
obviously as of 11:30 in the morning. I mean, like obviously stuff changes, but as of right now.
Yeah, and so I'm playing Roth on Crunch Time today too. So I'll be letting people know how this changes throughout the day when I'm on Crunch Time later. But as of now, I think my preferred pitching combo would probably be Robbie Ray and Javi Assad. I think that's where I'd be going with it. Loading up on some bats. Texas would be my primary stack. Want to make sure I get my Corey Seager in there. I think he's my top individual bat on the slate. And then some expensive one-offs alongside them. I think that's how I'd be doing it. Probably like a 5-1-1-1 or a 5-2-1 expensive one-off bats with Texas.
Okay, no, well, right, because you're betting Mitch Keller is broken, and I'm betting that Walker Buehler has proven to be broken. So let's see what happens. So TJ, you're going to be on Crunch Time later, playing Roth. It's odd. Roth goes on vacation and the weather stops. It's kind of weird how that works out. It's almost like he controls the weather. I think Kevin Roth controls the weather.
He might be. He
turned it off. That's when he left his house to go on vacation. He just like flipped the switch.
Flick the switch.
Like, okay, weather's off. Weather's off this week. We just don't have to worry about it. Just no weather this week. It's fine.
Honestly, though, I do appreciate if it's like the reverse and like he actually planned out a vacation across days with there no weather. I appreciate that because I'm always willing to pick up more shows, but I don't want to have to play meteorologist.
Okay, so that's 5 o'clock Eastern on Grinders Live. That's followed by Crunch Time at 6:15 or so Eastern. That's later on the YouTube channel, but you could hit that thumbs up button on your way out the door. Give us your thumbs, the thummy thumbs. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to always know when we go live. We'll be back tomorrow for some more MLB action later in the week for MMA stuff on Friday. So Thursday, and maybe it's Grinders Live, maybe I'm on early, but who knows? Who knows what happens? We got NFL coming up soon. Get your combo premium subscription because once September and October comes around, we got all the sports running. We got NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, PGA, MMA. We got everything. So hit that link in the description. Get $40 off your first month here at RotoGrinders. Until then, I'll help you out for the freebie people, right? At least pay with a like, right? Hit that thumb. For the freebie people, I'm always here for you. Monday through Friday, 11 o'clock Eastern, talking about all things you're thinking about. Daily fantasy, props, and pick 'em on RotoGrinders Today.